Going on in London with our reporter Luxmy Gopal. First of all, let's talk about travel in the capital, Luxmy.
Yes, Victoria, some rail and air passengers affected by delays and cancellations, including at Heath, operating as normal. But there are some passengers having the experience that this person at Gatwick is having. Have a listen. Rail issues are being caused by passenger information and train crew roster systems being affected, but it's not affecting that many lines. Great Northern having some, but not that many affected.
But hospitals are being affected, aren't they?
That's right. Not all hospitals and not all patients are being affected, but some system says you should turn up to your appointment that's already been booked unless told otherwise.
One thing people might really notice is card payments.
Yes, that's a more immediate one, isn't it? And a few retailers had issues this morning, including, for example, the bakery chain Gales. And of course, not being able to use your card machine is affecting taxi passengers and drivers' business too. Listen to this London cab driver. Now, it has to be said that a lot of those issues that we experienced and saw this morning have already been resolved. When it comes to travel, passengers are being told to check before they travel, the advice as usual, but we'll have to see how the disruption that we saw this morning is affected and peters out throughout the afternoon.
There's a lot going on, isn't there? Thanks very much for that update.
Has been looking at that very area for us at Luxmy.
That's right, Asad, having to revert back to paper systems for appointments and note-taking and prescribing has had a significant effect on many services across the capital because it's slower and more complicated. Have a listen to what NHS London had to say. Tests at Queen Elizabeth Hospital that have been particularly affected. Now, London Ambulance Service says they've seen a huge rise in calls today. In fact, by 2 o'clock this afternoon, they'd had more than 3,999 calls and 3,000 calls to 111. And that's a third higher than they'd normally receive in a full 24-hour period. So they're asking people to only call if it's an emergency. Pharmacy services have also been affected by the outage, as has the NHS app, and also patients who had face-to-face or telephone appointments booked in with GP services. So here's some advice if this affects you.
Luxmy, good advice there, but when are things likely to get back to normal?
Well, some parts of the NHS have already started to see some services bit by bit restored this afternoon, and NHS London say they're optimistic that things may return to normal by Monday, but they can't make any promises at this stage. And of course, there is that extra workload caused by the fact that today a normal day of activity has been lost, so there's a bit of catching up to do on that as well.
OK, Luxmy, thanks very much for that update.